Heading to the 6-week postpartum visit at the birth center. On the way there, I just want to share a little bit about why I am starting a YouTube channel, why right now in the middle of trying to adjust to 2 kids and the chaos that brings on, why do I think now is a good time to take on something like this, and kind of just my thoughts so far, and tell you a little bit more about me. So I have been wanting to do this. I've really been thinking about it for probably about 3 years now. I would say a little over a year ago, I really started getting serious. I was watching a lot of other YouTube videos about how to grow on YouTube, how to potentially become a content creator, how to edit videos, how to tell stories, and really just enjoying consuming a lot of that educational content and learning more about the process. A couple of years ago, I took a digital course about how to take better video footage, especially of your little ones, and kind of make family movies. I learned a lot of tips and tricks on how to record video through that course, and also some basic editing knowledge. I put together a few little short home movies and kind of recaps from vacations that we had taken, and I really enjoyed having those to look back on. That was right after my son was born, so that was probably 3.5 years ago now, actually. And then I found that as I got busy, I was continuing to record the content on my phone, but I didn't have, or I wasn't making the time to actually edit the footage. And around that same time, really starting to feel convicted and just trying to make the decision about how much we share our kids, specifically their faces, on social media, especially as AI has come on the scene, just trying to protect their privacy and ultimately let them make that decision when they're ready about if they want to be on social media. So I kept recording the content, but I found that I wasn't editing the videos as much, and I kind of pivoted and decided that if I was going to make videos and put them on YouTube, that would be a little bit more motivating for me and hold me accountable a little bit more than if these videos were just for me and my family to look back on and have those on either a private YouTube channel or a Vimeo account or something like that. And then I quickly realized that if I was going to share these videos on YouTube, it couldn't just be just a vlog or just a recap of our family vacations, but I also started to develop a passion for wanting to share value and connect with other moms through this crazy motherhood journey, and share a little bit about what I'm going through, what I'm learning along the way, tips and tricks, things that I have found that work for us, because that's ultimately, I feel like, so much of what motherhood is just trying things out, seeing what works for you, and if it doesn't, letting it go, and acknowledging that things that work for other people, you don't always have to make work for yourself. And there is so much freedom in that, and then just accepting kind of who you are. New moms only. I would say we are a new mom, so we're going to park here today. We are visiting the birth center, and it is our 6-week appointment. So yeah, I made the decision that I was going to start a YouTube channel, and I wanted to make sure that I was providing value in the videos. I started recording just a lot of B-roll, and then planned to do some talking head or narrated videos, kind of sharing that information that I would match with the B-roll as I got more comfortable. And then really jumped in feet first with our trip to Nashville in August of 2024, and planned out an entire video about following us around Nashville and sharing the activities that we found that were kid-friendly, since it is very much, when you think of Nashville, you think of Music Row and all the bar scene there and things like that. And so I really thought it would be helpful and was excited to share some content about the places that we found that were kid-friendly. And so I recorded all of that footage, and here we are almost a year later, and I still have not finished editing that video. And yeah, so now I am on maternity leave after having my second child, and definitely have some more free time. I am absolutely soaking up all of the newborn snuggles and trying to adjust to the chaos that is having two children and trying to keep up with my first, and still getting in quality time with him, and then cranking another baby into the mix, and just, yeah, trying to figure everything out again and what it looks like. But I remember specifically with my first and my maternity leave and postpartum with him, I watched a lot of TV and I scrolled on social media a ton. And so I wanted to do something different this time. I wanted to have a more productive outlet and things to do while he was napping, lots of couch naps, or while he was sleeping in his bassinet during the day. And so I really have been using this time to catch up on editing some of those videos over the last year. We did the Smoky Mountain video, and then a quick trip to USC where we went to a baseball game last year, and then hoping to get that Nashville video finished up shortly. So I'm excited about this journey and just want to see where it goes from here. It's really important for me to prioritize family time. I know that it's going to be really chaotic transitioning, going back to work, and I absolutely love my job. I work at a digital marketing agency. I really enjoy working with my clients and helping them. I also want to be able to use the skills and knowledge that I have with digital marketing to build something for myself in tandem. So we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping to stay somewhat consistent with posting videos, but I'm also know that I need to give myself some grace in it's probably not going to be posting a video every single week, although I would love that, and that's the goal. I need to give myself some grace and understand that it might be every 2 to 3 weeks when I'm first going back to work. And as I'm continuing to learn all these different new skills with editing videos, it's taking a really long time, but I am really enjoying the process and just focusing on getting 1% better with every video that I edit and upload. And yeah, just figuring it out as we go, but wanted to bring you guys along for the journey and kind of share why I'm starting this, and hope that we can connect in some way. If you have a similar desire or interest in starting a YouTube channel, documenting just your kids growing up. With each of these videos, I'm focused on saving 2 versions, one with their faces blurred that I can put on YouTube, and then having the uncensored version with their faces that we can look back on as a family and just enjoy those memories together. So yeah, documenting both my personal growth along the way and what I'm learning and how I'm changing as I step into each new phase of motherhood, but making sure that I don't lose myself and that I make sure to always have a creative outlet that reminds me that I do have an identity, that is a piece of my identity that is separate from my kids and that will be there even after they are grown up and have flown the nest. All right. We are going to head into the appointment now, and we'll check in with you afterwards. All right. I just finished up with the 6-week appointment. Everything went well and I got cleared. So stay tuned for postpartum fitness journey. We have a home gym that I definitely need to get back to using. And I love focusing on more strength training. So I wanted to share a couple more thoughts about why I feel like I'm finally starting a YouTube channel and kind of some reflections that I've had over the last few weeks. The first big realization came while I was in a therapy session and just kind of reflecting on how things feel a little bit easier this time around having my second kid. And I think a huge part of that is confidence. And the way that relates to starting this YouTube channel is I felt like with my first, I was still figuring things out. I didn't feel like I knew enough to share and help other moms. And this time around, especially just like having conversations with friends that are getting pregnant for the first time and kind of sharing some advice with them, I definitely feel more equipped, and with that experience comes confidence. And so that's a big part of why I feel more ready now, and ultimately why I've been able to take this leap, finish editing some of these videos, do some talking head recordings, even though they are really challenging at first and they take a long time with lots of outtakes, just kind of pushing through that fear and pressing record and sharing a little bit of my story in hopes that there are other moms out there that can relate to it, and hopefully helping them by sharing some advice along the way. And same thing, like receiving tips and advice from other moms and hearing what has worked for them so that I can try it and see if it works for me and for my family. Another piece that I've been trying to figure out for the last year or so is what type of niche or niche, I have no idea what the right way to say that word is, what the right type of niche is to focus on. I know that I'm probably going to end up saying both versions of that throughout this. I know that if you pick one niche to focus on, you can grow a lot quicker on YouTube. And there's a lot of people out there that recommend that and kind of just going all in on one topic. The biggest challenge I had with that is that I feel very dynamic. I know that there's lots of aspects to my personality as well as various interests and things like that. And I had such a hard time just picking one thing to focus on. That might have been related to more of the confidence too. I know that I have a lot of skills with digital marketing and knowledge there, but I didn't necessarily want to go all in with that category. And I also really enjoy documenting and sharing aspects of this motherhood journey. So after going back and forth, I did a lot of, I used ChatGPT a lot to kind of share a lot of my interests. So I love spending time outside, obviously spending time with family. We love going on trips and traveling. I'm really into nutrition, clean eating, staying healthy, exercising, strength training, things like that. So that's a whole nother component. And I wanted to find the best way to find a common thread between all of my interests and be able to stay true to that and share bits and pieces of each of those interests without having to narrow down to one. So I know that it will probably take longer to grow by making a variety of that content, but I also know that I will be able to stay more consistent with the content creation process and have more fun along the way, which is most important to me in this, especially this first year. I'm just going to try out a bunch of different things, see what I like, see what I don't like, and go from there. So yeah, I'm really trying to focus on being authentic through this process, and a big piece of that is sharing the ups and the downs, the struggles, the joys along the way, and sharing bits and pieces of various interests and different categories and topics and things like that is how I feel is the best way to do it right now for me. Another thing that I feel like has been holding me back over the last year is I am very much a perfectionist, and I felt like I had to have it all together before I even posted my first video. And by that, I mean, like, I needed to have a personal brand figured out with a logo and a color palette and a tagline and start building a website. And at one point, I recognized that was causing me to procrastinate. And every time I would try to make traction on editing my first video, I would get distracted and start looking at a color palette and trying to figure that out, and maybe look at what website platform I should be using. And so when I acknowledged this and I was aware of this, again, I went to ChatGPT. I told it a little bit about my personality, acknowledged that this is what I was doing, and asked it to help me figure out, it very much validate that I didn't need any of that to just start. And that was huge for me because it was able to explain to me what was happening in my brain, why, validate the fact that it is very common for procrastination and perfectionism to go hand in hand, and reaffirming that I don't need any of that to get started. It can very much evolve and I can build some of those things out as I go, but that I'm not locked into a single color palette from the first video that I post. So yeah, that was a combination of taking the marketing knowledge that I have and wanting to have a very polished look and cohesive between all the videos, but having fun with it again, kind of going back to that and not letting myself procrastinate anymore. So kind of putting that perfectionism aside, knowing that my first video is not going to be my best video and it shouldn't be, and that I'm going to get a little bit better as I go here. I'm going to get a little bit more comfortable talking to the camera every time that I do it. And a year from now, I'm going to be so glad that I started this process now and that I'm not in the same spot that I am now, looking back a year ago and saying, I wish I had started sooner. So if you have any perfectionist type A tendencies and you haven't already, I would recommend using ChatGPT and kind of sharing some of those observations about your personality. If you recognize how it's holding you back, how you want to overcome that, and just seeing what happens. I was blown away. It was helping me work through things that I have tried to figure out for years. The last thing I'll say about what has been holding me back and why I haven't started until now is really that fear of being perceived as cringe. I know that my first videos aren't going to be the best, and the thought of people that I know kind of seeing some of these videos that I'm putting out and being like, who does she think she is? I'm just kind of getting past that in my head. It's been very supportive from friends and family who have seen my videos so far, and I know that it's going to get more comfortable and they'll get better as I go. And just remembering that it takes courage to start something new, and doing something public like starting a YouTube channel, you're kind of putting that on display compared to like if you wanted to learn how to play the guitar, you could take private lessons. You don't have to tell anybody that you're trying something new. And then once you get good at it, you can share this newfound talent with your friends and family. So yeah, just trying to put that aside and enjoy the process of trying something new and seeing where it goes. So if you've made it to this part of the video, I'm sure some of this resonates with you. I'd love to hear about how you balance your identity as a mom and also maintaining some of those creative outlets or passions that you have. And if you have wanted to start a YouTube video or a YouTube channel, or if you have already started one, I would love to hear where you're at in the process. And if you've had similar struggles along the way, let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And I'm definitely committed to doing these types of videos and checking in at least every few months. I will go ahead and link that video once it's posted. If you don't see it yet, make sure to subscribe so you can follow along and you don't miss it when it goes live. All right, I will talk to you later. In the meantime, remember to grow through adventure.